The anime begins by showing the human race from various royal armies uniting their strength to fight against the demon race that has been ruling the human world with the power of darkness and seizing one of the largest kingdoms in the human world. The Black King, who is the leader of the demon race, is one of the strongest kings that is very difficult to beat by any race. The Black King also has a large army consisting of the best demons and black magicians who are very skilled in various witchcraft. So it's no wonder that the human race with any number of soldiers is still very difficult to defeat the Black King and the demon race. But even so, there are still some people who are determined and willing to fight to reclaim the kingdom that has been controlled by the Black King. One of the warriors was a young man named Yuri, who was one of the knights of the kingdom that had been ruled by the Black King. Yuri was one of the warriors who dared to face the Black King head-on and was at the forefront of fighting against the Black King. In the mission to liberate the kingdom, he was assisted by a female fairy named Pirika and several knights from other kingdoms. All the knights fought not only to help the kingdom, but also to save the world from the dark power of the Black King. After a long battle faced by the knights from various kingdoms, they slowly began to be overwhelmed by the immense power of darkness that the Black King possessed. In addition, the Black King had purposely torn the Chain Chronicle magic book into 2 pieces. In this increasingly urgent situation, all the knights and troops of the human race were forced to withdraw from the battlefield because they realized that they would not be able to win. When they had left the battlefield, the Black King had already captured the fairy Pirika who had been accompanying Yuri and killed her. Even though Pirika has gone, Yuri still hasn't given up on fighting to defeat the Black King. Therefore, Yuri, who has been seriously injured, even plans to develop a new strategy in the next battle. Unfortunately, most of the knights and troops from other kingdoms chose to retreat rather than return to fight against the Black King. As a result, the alliance of knights from various kingdoms began to disintegrate, and the royal troops could no longer continue their fight. For now, the Black King and the demon race have won the battle by a landslide and have begun to spread their power of darkness to various regions. Far from the center of the kingdom, a young man named Aram is seen enjoying his life in a small village while enjoying lizard satay. He is the son of a farmer who lives a normal life like a normal villager. However, one day, the peaceful life in Aram's village is ruined by a group of demonic forces from the Black King. Aram could not let the army destroy the village and hurt the villagers, so with his fighting skills, he tried to defeat the demon army. Even Aram also has a magic power that is powerful enough to make Yuri, who happened to come to the village, feel impressed with him. Yuri and his troops immediately fought against the demons to help Aram save the village and protect the residents. After successfully defeating the demon army, Aram approaches Yuri and learns that Yuri is one of the knights who joined the royal alliance. In the evening, Aram sits with Yuri and his troops in front of a bonfire to have dinner together. A girl named Fina who has healing powers gets a turn to cook food that night. However, because her cooking is not good, Yuri and the other members can't afford to finish their food. Surprisingly, Aram could devour the food without noticing the bland taste of the food. Shortly after, the Chain Chronicle book that Fina was carrying suddenly gave off a very strong light and aura of darkness. As a result of the incident, Yuri has a strong feeling that Pirika is actually still alive, so he intends to find Pirika first. Yuri's friends also support the plan because the power of Pirika is very influential in their victory when fighting against the demon race later. In the evening, Yuri offers Aram to join his army to defeat the Black King together, but he immediately refused because he was more used to fighting alone and did not want to get involved with others. Yuri again tries to convince him that fighting together with friends we love will be much easier than fighting alone, but these words were not enough to change Aram's stance. The next day, Yuri and his troops returned to fight against the demon race troops who were colonizing a big city. Aram was back in action with his formidable sword skills to defeat the demon army. He even used his magic power to recharge the sword of another royal knight named Burkhart. After the battle was over, Aram began to change his mind and decided to join Yuri's army. The next day, Princess Juliana, who is the leader of the kingdom where Burkhart came from, ordered Burkhart to join Yuri's army. Princess Juliana plans to go on another trip separately so she can gather more troops to defeat the Black King. At first, Burkhart seemed to object to it because he preferred to accompany the princess and felt he was incompatible with Yuri. But because Burkhart didn't want to go against orders, he was forced to obey Juliana's words. On the other hand, one of the strongest knights of Yuri's army named Dusty gave a dagger as a token of friendship. After Princess Juliana left, Burkhart began to feel frustrated because he had been abandoned by the princess and had to be trapped with Yuri's troops who he hated so much. In the midst of the turmoil experienced by him, a female mage from the army of the Black King suddenly appeared and immediately affected Burkhart. As a result, the unstable Burkhart was easily overpowered by dark forces and began to turn into a demon. Burkhart then returns to the camp to attack Yuri and the others before he finally disappears without a trace. A few days after the incident, Yuri went to see Princess Juliana and told her about what had happened to Burkhart. She immediately felt sad and guilty because she was sure this would not have happened had she not left him. Apart from Burkhart, there were more people who were starting to be affected by the forces of the demon race and the Black King. Some of them were townspeople who started attacking the royal guards sent to guard the town. They weren't actually bewitched with any evil spells, but they were people who preferred to side with the Black King. When the princess interrogated one of the rebels, the young man confessed that he did all that because he was afraid of dying at the hands of the Black King, so it would be easier for him if he sided with them. Meanwhile, Yuri, who had previously been injured in the first battle with the Black King, began to experience symptoms of a fairly severe dark aura. The condition of Yuri's right hand has been completely affected by the dark power of the Black King, and his health condition is getting worse. Seeing these conditions, Yuri's friends decided to ask for help from a knight from the Magic Kingdom named Melchior. Upon arriving at the Magic Kingdom, Melchior and the members of the Magic Kingdom Council explained that the Imperial City was currently in a circle of darkness. The only way to solve the problem, Yuri and his troops must enter a labyrinth in the middle of the Imperial City. Therefore, Melchior sent several magicians to accompany Yuri's troops to safely enter the labyrinth. In the evening, Yuri and his troops begin their journey through a rocky mountain filled with a blizzard. Besides having to face the cold of the blizzard, they also have to fight against the forces of darkness. Fortunately, the magicians sent by Melchior could easily defeat the army of darkness with their fire magic power. However, due to the fire magic attack that was too large, the ice in that place began to melt, causing a large landslide. As a result of the incident, Aram and Yuri accidentally fell into a very deep icy abyss. After reaching the bottom of the abyss, Yuri and Aram decided to take shelter in a cave while waiting for their friends to save them. When Yuri's friends are about to go to save Yuri and Aram, they meet sprites named Olga and Rollo. They both promise to help Yuri's troops to find their whereabouts. Meanwhile, Yuri is slowly starting to lose consciousness and starts having strange hallucinations where he is fighting against himself. Fortunately, the incident did not last long because Aram immediately stopped him and managed to resuscitate him. Not long after, the army of darkness reappeared and began to attack them both. After a fairly short fight, they finally managed to defeat the army of darkness. After that, an old man suddenly appears and tells Yuri about a dragon that will change the world. Before he could ask further about the dragon, Yuri's friends had already arrived and the old geezer suddenly disappeared. The next day, they resumed their journey with the entire army, including the Earth Sprite and Fire Sprite. But in the middle of their journey, they were intercepted by a rebel knight named Shuza. Previously, Shuza was one of the knights who joined the Struggle Alliance, but at that time, he decided to take the Chain Chronicle book so that he could become the strongest king. As a result, the battle between Shuza's troops and Yuri's troops was unavoidable. Unfortunately, due to the large number of Shuza's troops, Yuri and his friends were unable to defeat them. Until in the end, Shuza managed to snatch the Chain Chronicle book that was in Fina's hands. As if the conditions weren't bad enough, Yuri's army was suddenly surrounded by evil magicians and an ancient golem monster named Alzada. At the same time, the dark aura that was on Yuri's body began to spread and affect his mind to make him see an evil image of himself. Yuri, who was disturbed by the evil shadow, immediately approached the shadow and stabbed him with his sword. However, when Yuri opened his eyes, it turned out that the person he stabbed was not his evil shadow, but his own friend named Kain. After realizing that he had killed his own friend, Yuri became increasingly frustrated and felt guilty that it made him filled with an aura of darkness. It didn't take long after that incident to make him turn into a dark knight, and finally, he joined the forces of the Black King. After that, Yuri and the other Black King troops left the place and entered a magic portal. That night, a girl who has healing powers named Marina tries to treat the wounds on Kain's body, who is still alive. The next day, Princess Juliana, who has now ascended the throne to become a queen, received news of what had happened to Yuri. Although Queen Juliana has been good friends with Yuri all this time, she has no other choice but to fight against him to protect her people. On the other hand, Aram, Fina, and the others had arrived across Soul Island, which was supposed to be the place where the fairy Pirika was. Unfortunately, when they arrived there, the troops of the Black King had already taken control of the place, so they had to flee. They decided to run to a Tree of Life in the middle of the island under the direction of a forest guard. Upon arriving at the Tree of Life, they are all shown with Yuri's past, who had trained hard to defeat the Black King. They also received a sign from Pirika that soon she would return to the Night Alliance to help them. After that, Aram and Fina continue their journey to the desert city to meet a girl named Mujika, who can summon a dragon with her voice. When Aram and Yuri fell into the abyss on their previous trip, Aram remembers an old man talking about a giant dragon, and he believes that the power of the dragon can help the warrior alliance. While Fina went to look for Mujika, Aram decided to go to the royal palace of Queen Juliana and meet her, who was being threatened by Shuza to give up her throne. Not long after, the Black King's army and the knights under the Black King's influence began to attack the royal palace. The battle between the army of darkness and the army of the kingdom was unavoidable, and Queen Juliana had to face Burkhard, while Shuza had to fight against Alzada. When Queen Juliana and Shuza were almost overcome by the power of darkness, Aram immediately used his magic power to awaken them. After successfully resuscitating them, Aram's pet that had always accompanied him suddenly turned into a giant dragon, and the dragon forced the army of darkness to retreat from the battlefield. A few days later, the preparations of the Royal Knight Alliance army to fight the Black King were finally almost complete. The magicians have also finished building a flying device that can be used to help the Alliance troops attack the Black King's stronghold. In the evening, the battle between the demon race troops led by the Black King and the Royal Knight Alliance troops led by Aram finally began. Queen Juliana also fought on the battlefield, and had no other choice but to kill the unconscious Burkhard. But unlike her, Aram felt very confident that he could still free Yuri from the influence of the forces of darkness. With the power of the magic sword, Aram was finally able to destroy Yuri's armor of darkness and free Yuri's soul. But on the other hand, Fina prefers to sacrifice herself to absorb the power of darkness in the Chain Chronicle book so that the Alliance of Knights can reclaim the book. After that, Aram and Yuri unite their strength to defeat the Black King together until all the forces of darkness also disappear. Shortly after the Black King was defeated, the fairy Pirika reappeared and immediately healed the dying Fina. The anime closes with a scene where they are reunited and intend to continue their adventure together. The moral that we can learn from this anime is, the power of friendship will help us to face all the big challenges that exist in our life.